approach, please. Ready? Carla Barton. Mr. Ambrose, this is your motion. Okay. And you gonna waive Mr. Bashara?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because it's, okay. Because it's really about this witness, okay?
What? Just so the record's clear, you know,
We're not on the record.
Right.
Can you call it, madam? I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm just waiting for you. This is case number 13-8320, the People versus Robert Bashara.
And good morning, Your Honor. John Voitel for the People.
Ronald Ambrose appearing on behalf of Mr. Bashara.
Okay. This basically was your motion. However, I received a letter from Mr. Bartonelli regarding the conduct of the prosecutor's office. And in that way, I appointed him an attorney, Attorney Ben Donnan.
No, I'm right there.
Okay, so where is Mr. Bartonelli?
I think they're getting up on the grass.
Anyway, so I believe that it was in the best interest to have a lawyer to be appointed to Mr. Bartonelli regarding these serious allegations that he made. But in addition, you filed a motion on behalf of Mr. Bashara, basically accusing the people of misconduct. So what I need to do is, are you willing to waive your client's appearance?
And,
Okay, very good. And then if we can get Mr. we need to take a little breather.
When I have been substituted in, I wish to offer an argument on behalf of Mr. Bartonelli regarding.
Oh, he's coming out.
Media.
He is coming out and they have a right to be here.
May I offer an argument?
Okay, so you substituted in?
I'm not sure you have done that yet, but that's what's intended.
Well, he needs to come out here so that I can figure out what he's going to do.
May the cameras be turned off?
No, they
until then?
not.
I wish to offer an argument.
No, I'm not, because you're not even on the case.
Have you signed the substitution of attorney, sir?
It hasn't been entered. And I want to know what he wants to do. Okay, Mr. Bartonelli,
Yes, ma'am.
step forward. How are you doing?
Fine.
I got a letter from you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, here's the situation. I appointed you a lawyer because of the nature of the letter. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I appointed Ben Guy. Okay. And now I'm understanding that you want Mr. Moffitt.
Mr. Murphy was retained by my wife.
Okay, very good. All right, so I'm going to substitute. You don't have any of that? Well, okay, very good. All right. Okay, now, I got a letter from you, and I want to deal with this letter. Are you ready to go forward this time?
Yes.
Okay. Regarding the nature of these allegations
Yes.
of the letter.
Yes.
All right, sir.
Your Honor, may I offer an argument on behalf of Mr. Bartonelli and the media, please?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, my client was transported here yesterday. He's been lodged in the Wayne County Jail. He is very pronounced allergies to latex and to peanut butter. He is very concerned for his exposure to those allergies. He has a history of
What's that got to do with this hearing?
heart conditions, Your Honor, and he hasn't been afforded his diabetic medicine. He is concerned that the presence of the media will cause him such agitation that he may possibly have an incident. He is asking that Your Honor permit him to testimony without the media portrayal, and if Your Honor does not order that, he has asked me to ask the media if you would voluntarily relinquish the opportunity to tape Mr. Bartonelli during these proceedings.
Well, I guess what they're basically asking is you don't want to show his face.
That's correct.
We could do that. But here's the situation, as you know, the media has a right to be here. And there has to be a compelling reason by which I can close these proceedings, and one has not been put forth thus far. Understanding Mr. Bartonelli's concerns, once he interjected himself in this issue, there are many rights that he waived by virtue of that. And the fact of the matter is, I read his letter that was dated on March 9, 2006, that he sent to Mr. Ambrose, as well as one that he sent to me. And the fact of the matter is that he is the alleged affiant and prepared the affidavit from Mr. Gentz, which is very critical here. And, these are things that I think that should have been considered, before he engaged in such conduct. But at this point, the media has a right to be here, and I'm not going to exclude them. It is discretionary if they choose, and I can order that they don't show his face. Okay, is that very good?
That's very,
Okay,
very
very
good, Your
good.
Honor.
So now, what do you want to do?
I would like
Be
to-
quiet. Didn't nobody talk to you?
Mr. Bartonelli is here under subpoena, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. I want to know about the allegations that have been put forward. But that's really kind of Mr. Ambrose's motion. So you can have a seat, and we can just take him in the back, and we can then call him as a witness to find out what's been going on. Is that how you want to proceed, Mr. Ambrose?
Well, Your Honor, I just want to make the record clear. I did not ask for Mr. Bartonelli to be here. I did not subpoena him to be here.
I did, because I want to know, is what you're saying accurate?
And once I received a letter from Mr. Bartonelli, that's when I filed this motion for the discovery.
Okay, very good. But I need to find out from Mr. Bartonelli what's going on with these allegations.
Fair enough.
Your Honor, only taking his testimony can so determine that, but if I may make a suggestion to the court, I think the court may, after some lengthy examination, perhaps find that Mr. Bartonelli's testimony is not actually relevant. He does not know the truth or not of what is in the affidavit. He merely prepared an affidavit in accordance with what was said to him. I believe his testimony is not relevant because he cannot say whether or not it's true. He just acted as a paralegal in rendering the form of what was said to him into a document.
Okay, well, we need to know, did he take the affidavit from, did he prepare the affidavit from Mr. Gentz? And we can take that testimony yesterday.
I understand, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Ambrose, is that your understanding of what's going on?
Fair enough, Your Honor.
Okay, young man, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear affirm testimony about the witness now, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but yourself you got.
Yes, I do.
Take the stand.
May I stand near him, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Spell your first and last name, I'm sorry.
Carlo Bartonelli, Carlo, V as in Victory, Artinelli.
All right, go ahead.
Mr. Bartonelli, you're currently housed where?
I would like to respectfully submit at this time.
You gotta say where you are, where you're being housed now.
I'd like to play my Fifth Amendment, not to testify.
Well, the court is not gonna grant it. Go ahead.
You're currently housed where?
Macomb Correctional Facility.
And there's a period of time where you were, Joseph Gentz was housed also at that facility?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell the court how you became involved with Joseph Gentz?
Mr. James was housed in the same unit, housed in Unit 1 in the Macomb Correctional Facility.
Mr. Bruce, I need you to step outside.
Your Honor, I'd like to assert my Fifth Amendment right not to testify if you would allow me.
I haven't heard anything that.
I haven't heard anything that's gonna be incriminating. You gotta answer.
Your Honor, I don't believe Mr. Bartonelli will answer. He's advised that he has the opportunity to appeal any ruling that he answered, any question in derogation of his Fifth Amendment privilege. It's my belief that any question regarding his involvement with Mr. Gens may fall within his assertion of privilege, and we're likely to hear that repeated over and over.
Well, I'm gonna order him to answer the question. Answer the question.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Your Honor, just before we get into that, if there's any other witnesses, I'd ask for sequestration.
Very good.
I respectfully decline to answer that question.
And I'm
on
gonna
the
order you
third.
to answer it.
I believe he hears you, Your Honor, but I believe he believes he has a right to appeal the order to answer. If he does answer, he can't unring that bell, and his appeal would essentially be mute. So to preserve his appellate right to remain silent under the Fifth Amendment, I believe it is likely that he will not answer even
Any
if ordered
questions?
to answer.
All right, very good.
Mr. Bartonelli, you signed your own affidavit in this case, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Do you stand by that affidavit?
Yes, I do.
All right. If I did, were you at one time approached by Mr. Gens?
I didn't hear you.
At one point, you were approached by Mr. Gens, correct?
Several times.
All right. He sought you out, is that correct?
Several times.
All right. And what did he ask you to do?
He asked me to, he handed me some piece of written papers and asked me to prepare it, if I would type the affidavit for him.
All right. And do you recall when you were first had contact with Mr. Gens?
Do you remember, sir?
Vaguely, it could be months, but the last 10 days he was very persistent.
The last 10 days of what? I don't know. What month?
The last 10 days before I typed the affidavit, ma'am. That's right.
Okay.
So you were first contacted by him in March. Is that what you said?
No, really. He used to live next door to me.
Okay.
And in fact, one of the things that I share with my attorney is why everybody that he has told the same story and he insisted in helping them is not here. I just happened to be the person that accepted to, he that really defeated my patience, and I said, okay, I
Now,
help
wait a
him.
minute, hold on for a minute, because your accent is so heavy. You said he defeated your patience?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Because I refused to have any involvement to help him, and he was insistent.
And what do you mean when you say insistent? Like, what did he do?
The cell door says he lies next door to me.
Okay.
And he would look to the window and I stop the window and I'm sleeping, or, I got a bad heart condition, so a lot of times, I just lay down. And I don't do too much legal work now, except my own, because I'm trying to prove my innocence. So I told him, I don't have the time to do that, to prove my innocence. So he would bang the door in my bunkie. In fact, got very uncomfortable about it. And living with somebody else, you have to respect the space.
Right.
So Mr. Williams, his name is Williams, and he asked me to tell him not to come to the door no more. Mr. James keep doing it, so as he was moved from the part of the unit.
Mr. Gens was moved.
Yes, and I think he was segregated for other reasons. I'm not aware what
So
reasons.
you kept hitting on that window?
No, not for hitting on the window, but he was segregated, I think, because he got.
He kept hitting on the window and that was agitating you, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so then he got moved.
Yes.
Then how did the affidavit come about?
The affidavit, from the time that he used to be my neighbor, from that time to the time nearing to me typing the affidavit, it was like 10 months. And then the last 10 days, I sat down in the we call it the day room, and drink coffee in the mornings with Mr. Roger Hess and myself. And he will come over there and just stare at me with the papers in his hand and ask me when you're going to do it. When you're going to do it. So I said to him, I'm going to do it sometime this week. From there, the last day, the day that I was ready to type it, I said, Joe, let me tell you.
One question, you say he has some papers in his hand.
Yeah, he's reading the statements, what I typed in the affidavit.
Oh, so he has some papers that he wanted you to type?
Yes,
Okay. And
Yes.
that's what you did?
yes, what I did, ma'am.
All right, anything, Robert?
Yes, and you typed up this affidavit for him.
Yes, I did. Well, I type what he's reading the statements with the exclusion of trying to, correct his orthography and his typos. I don't hear I'm deaf on both ears. I just was tested, and that's why my speech is, kind of strange, but it's because I'm deaf and I don't have no hearing aids.
Okay, now what's going on here with the allegation about the prosecutor's office was calling your wife?
My wife, I talk to my wife almost on a daily basis, Your Honor.
Okay.
And she informed me that some people has been stalking her in some car, and they've been following her. And I say,
Following her?
yes,
Stalking her?
yes. And I say, who it is? She says, I don't know, but they've been calling me. They say they got a subpoena, so I don't. What do you think? Subpoena? I say, I don't know, but if it is a person that's got a legitimate reason, will come to the door and knock the door, and no calling you on the phone and doing these things.
How many times did that happen?
I would say if she told me at least a couple, 3 times to be calling me.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, go ahead.
With regard to the affidavit that you typed up for Mr. Gantz, were you present when he signed the affidavit?
Can you repeat that question?
After you typed it up, did he sign it in your presence?
I gave to him an original and a copy, and he took it to the consul's office, and he has to raise his hands
Okay.
and type it himself. I don't participate on that area.
Okay, but basically everything that he put in it, you don't know whether that's true or not. You just typed it up because he was getting on your nerves, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
And during the course of typing up this affidavit, were there any times where you tested his recollection?
Yes, I did.
All right, because you wanted to make sure that this affidavit was truthful or correct as to what he wanted to put in it.
Yes, I read his own handwritten statements that I changed some things. I say a sentence or 2 sentences different in my own words. Really refuting what he says. Well, I just changed what he says.
Because you a paralegal up there in where you are, aren't you?
I am a paralegal, ma'am.
Right. So you almost like the lawyer up there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you had to make sure that it was appropriate.
That was my intent, yes, ma'am.
Okay, great.
So what he did, he will correct me several times. He says, no, that's not what I said. Let me see it. And he'll grab it. I'll say, I'm sorry, I misread it. And then that's what happened.
So you did that intentionally just to test him as to his recall, is that what you're saying?
I did it for one big reason. I told him and I warned him, I don't want to get involved in anything illegal. I don't want to do anything illegal. And I don't want to be participant because you got a real questionable character, Joe. And I had to question what you do. So it's just, and that's pretty much what I did.
After he signs the affidavit in front of a notary, did he give you the affidavit?
I was sitting with Mr. Roger Hess, and he dumped him in the table.
Who was Mr. Harris?
Roger Hess is a friend of mine that we sit down and drink coffee and talk about, respected cases. His cases pending in the Supreme Court. He's got action. He's proven his innocence. That's it.
Okay. Now let's get back to this one question. You said the reason you asked those questions because you say Joe had questionable character. What do you mean by that?
Well, he has still at least 50 prisoners, the same story. And I was authorized because some inmates are pretty upset with him. And they give me the permission to mention the names in this hearing.
No, I'm just, you ain't gotta be saying nobody's name now.
Okay.
I'm just saying, what led you to the conclusion that his character was questioned?
Because he has still these prisoners, without saying their names, the same story that he said in the affidavit. And then he will go to another person and ask him, for no rhyme or reason, tell him the same. He told Mr. Hirsch the same thing, and he harassed him the same way. So he's been saying this all along, so to me, and then, I don't know because it's private information, but I was told that he went to segregation for some mental episode. So I
So
question
the
his
fact
character.
that you thought was questionable because he keeps telling everybody the same thing.
Yes,
Okay, what does he tell one person something different?
not to my knowledge.
It's the same
The,
thing.
the same story.
Okay.
The same story that's in his affidavit.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So he supplies you with this affidavit?
He, when I was saying, I was with Roger, and he done the affidavit, he says, you give it to him. And I look at him with dismay and I say, why would I have to do that? It's your affidavit, you do it. I said, I don't have nothing to do with this. He says, well, look, they don't let me do it. And he walked away. So I look at Roger and I say, this is what I did. I said, he says, it's up to you. So me being an innocent person and I'm fighting for my freedom,
Of course.
I pray and I feel compelled I was really ready to rip it off and not get involved. But as a Christian person, I says, no, why? Because somebody's innocent, it might be a mistake or somebody guilty, I don't know. But as far as this paper to me, it's important for somebody, so I say,
And equally important, you wanted him to stop bothering.
yes. So I contacted Mr. Leonard Ricardo, my private investigator.
You got a private investigator?
Yes, for my case.
Leonard Ricardo?
Leonard Ricardo.
Oh. Can you spell his name, please?
ACCARDO.
So you contacted your personal private investigator?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I asked him, will you please find out, do you know this case? He says, no, I'm not aware, but I can find out. I said, will you please find out who his attorney is and tell him I got some information?
Okay. And that's how you got to Mr. Ambrose?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. And then we met at the jail,
Yes.
at the prison, Macomb Correctional, correct?
That's correct.
And at that point, you showed me the affidavit. Is that accurate? And thereafter, you mailed it out to me. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And I did because I didn't want to give it to you because they search you and we're not allowed to pass
Okay,
papers.
so when did all this calling to your wife occur? Okay, because you sent me a letter.
Yes. The letter is my personal concern for my wife because she just has some car troubles. And
So after the affidavit, you gave it to the lawyer, that's when the problem started with your wife?
yeah, after I did the affidavit, there's when they start, calling my wife and saying that we got a subpoena for you, and that we got some papers to serve to you, something like that. And she was very upset, and I said, what it is? I said, I don't know, honey, but, just...
And you said that happened on more than one occasion?
Yes, I will be conservative and say at least 3.
Okay, so at least 3, okay.
And Mr. Bartonelli, what does your wife know about this situation?
Nothing.
I have nothing further on it.
Anything you want to ask me?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Bartonelli. It is good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Now, you've indicated that you're somewhat of a prison house lawyer on your in Macomb County,
You
right?
said paralegal.
Paralegal, I'm sorry. You're something of a paralegal.
I am a paralegal.
Okay. And so it's not uncommon.
Yes. I got my diploma.
Okay.
It's not uncommon for people to come to you and with their legal issues and for you to
No,
help them out with that.
No, come at all.
And then you connect them with attorneys and private investigators like Lenny, right?
Yes.
And sometimes the people that you assist and their families, sometimes they provide you with some type of compensation, correct?
No.
So you don't get paid to do this?
No, they reimburse me for my typing pay for doing my ribbons, and some of them give me on their own, sometimes $5, of coffee or something like that, and I said, okay,
But you get something in return?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And they're using, and so the attorneys are charging them directly, or are you providing these attorneys for them?
No, I give them the names of the attorneys, and then they contact the attorneys.
Okay. And also Lenny. Lenny helps them out too, right?
Who is
Well,
Lenny?
I'm sorry, Mr. Arcardo.
Okay,
Yes.
that's your private investigator.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You know who I'm referring to when I say Lenny, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now going to this particular affidavit from Mr. Gentz, you had indicated that you really didn't want to get involved with Mr. Gentz, right?
No.
Okay, and he just kept pestering you and pestering you and pestering, saying, I want to tell the truth, right?
Not just me, a lot of people.
Okay, but specifically to you.
Just ask what what he did to you, okay, please?
Yes.
And after, I'm sorry, let me go back to one. During your time as a paralegal for these other prisoners, sometimes you get information, and you provide that to the prosecution, correct?
Information like what?
Okay, for instance, and unfortunately I haven't been able to give Mr. Ambrose this before, but I'll give it to him now. You've approached the prosecutor's office, and I'm approaching you with these two letters. You've approached the prosecutor's office with information about the Oakland County child killer, correct?
Well, there is a reason why I did that.
That's not what he asked, just answer the question. Did you give that to the prosecutor's office?
Yes.
Okay, and in that letter that you wrote, you indicate that you, in speaking to someone in prison, someone confessed to the Oakland County child killer murders.
No, that's incorrect.
Okay, or they gave you information as to who was...
That's incorrect.
Okay. That's incorrect. So what exactly were you trying to present?
Without reading the letter, I can tell you about my memory. A prisoner named Charlie Moore was a prisoner in the Wayne County Jail. And he took a plea. And Charlie Moore was a very tormented child. And,
Sir, I'm going to pause you for a moment. Exactly what were you trying to say in that particular letter to indicate that you knew someone that was involved in the Oakland County child murders?
Your Honor, I don't want to intervene in this examination, but I don't believe the prosecutor is entitled to cut off my client when he's answering under oath.
I think that's my call. Overruled. Answer the question.
Charlie Moore asked me for help. And I contacted the prosecutor's office because he wanted to withdraw his plea, and he was forced by some officer named Ed Williams, they beat him up, to obtain some statements from him and threaten him. And then he told me his story, he wanted to withdraw his plea. And he got some information about this, and I wrote to the prosecutor's office, and Mr. Moran came to see me.
Okay, so someone...
And Mr. Moran, for the record, is APA Rob Moran?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so someone gave you information in prison, correct? What you just referred to is Charlie Moore gave you some information in prison.
I disagree with your narration of the facts. No, they don't give me information. They ask me to do something for them.
Okay. So he asked you to do something, and then gave you information.
No.
Asked you to help him,
Mhm.
gave you no information as to why he needed this help.
What is in this letter, that's what, that's the extent of my information.
Look, what he's saying is he had to tell you what was in the letter, right?
Right.
In order for you to, he told you something and you told somebody else.
Oh, that is correct.
Okay, that's what he means by
That's
information.
my
Okay.
question, okay?
Yeah,
And
for
then,
my client, Your Honor, he's been up all night, he hasn't received his medications, and I think the prosecutor's trying to tell him a story and get him to agree to it.
Your Honor, I object to,
Simply
Counsel,
asking
you
him
are
to
out
tell
of line,
the
Mr.
story.
Moffitt. You can't do that. You cannot do that. Now, you're here to advise him. You can't make a supplemental record yourself.
Very well, Your Honor.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Your Honor, if I could place an objection, I don't know what the relevancy of this is at all.
May I tell you, it's cross-examination. Go ahead.
okay. So he gave you this information and asked for your assistance, correct?
Mhm.
And
Yes
then,
or no? You
Yes.
know that.
okay, and then you brought that information, decided to contact the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office indicating that you had this information, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you asked the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office for some assistance in one of your cases, correct? As part of that.
Did you ask the prosecutor's office to do something for you?
No.
Okay.
Your only intent on sending that letter was to get help for this Charlie Moore guy.
That's correct.
Okay. Now going back to the affidavit in which we're involved in here. After you eventually broke down and decided to help Mr. Gentz, prior to him writing anything down, did you go through what information he had to give you?
Can you repeat that question?
Okay. Prior to Mr. Gentz writing anything down, did you and he speak to you about what exactly it was that he wanted you to do?
No.
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 Okay. So all he did is he wrote something down, gave it to you, and asked you to type it.
That is correct.
Okay. There was no conversation prior to that regarding what was contained in what he wrote.
Except when I read it to him and change, a couple things.
We'll get back to that for a moment. Now you stated in your affidavit that the original, I think it was your affidavit, that originally Mr. Gentz had written something along the lines of 12 pages, handwritten, correct?
Initially, yes.
Okay, and you told him, edit it, make it shorter, right?
No, I didn't tell her edit it. I didn't use those words. I just told him, I said, listen, Joe, I'm not trying to write your life story over here. I don't have the time for that. Tell me what the facts you wanted to write and break it down, cut it down to whatever you really wanted to say that is relevant, that you think has to be relevant to what you say, and give it to me.
Okay. So he went back and edited himself, correct? And he got it shorter.
I guess so. I don't know.
Okay.
I wasn't with him when they did it.
Well, the next time you see him, does he have papers with him again?
Yes.
And is it the same 12-page original handwritten document?
No.
Okay, so we can assume that he went back and took your advice and edited it down and made it shorter, correct?
That's a possibility.
Okay, so he gives you, how many pages was this original?
Only was 11, 12 pages at the very least.
Okay. He gives you the shortened statement and asks you to type it up.
Yes.
Okay, and you went and you typed it up.
Yes, I did.
You bring it back to him.
That's it.
And you said that you purposely put inaccuracies in that to test it, correct?
No, you misinterpreted what
No,
I said.
I misstated. That's my fault. That when you read it back to him, you purposely put inconsistencies in there.
I read his handwritten pages, not affidavit.
When you read his handwritten, well, let me go back here. When was it that these inaccuracies that you read to him, when did this occur? Was this before you typed it or after you typed it?
Before I typed it.
Okay, so before you typed it, you read you tested them with the inaccuracies, correct?
That's right.
Okay. And after typing it, did you do the same and read back to him and then provide the inaccuracies?
That is correct.
Okay, so even after you typed it, you also, read it back to him with the inaccuracies to test it.
Can you repeat that?
After you typed it, did you read it back to Mr. Gens and say, is this what your affidavit is? Did you read it back to him?
No, I'll give it to him.
Okay, you just gave it to him.
Typed it up and gave it to him.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you gave it back to him, for some reason, his name is John Joseph Gens rather than Joseph John Gens, correct?
Do you know? What's his name?
I believe it's Joseph James. I mean, like I told you, I don't associate with the guy too much.
Do you want to see his affidavit and see what name you used?
Yes, if you would.
Okay.
Hey, do you have a copy of that, Mr.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I didn't want to leave to do that. I'd like to.
Well, we won't ask any questions while you go get it.
Thanks so much, Your Honor.
Do you get a copy?
May he see yours?
And you would agree with me that the name that's put down on that is John Joseph Gens, not Joseph John Gens.
That's correct.
Okay. And that document is signed, correct?
Pardon?
That document is signed?
Did you sign it? Take a look at it, okay?
Yeah, he signed it.
And the line where he signed it, it also states John Joseph Gens, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you see Mr. Gens read over this affidavit after you typed it up for him?
He took it, and I think he kept it for a couple of 3 days.
That was not my question, sir. My question is, did you see Mr. Gens read this document after you typed it up?
I give it to him. After I type it.
Again, sir, my question, did you see Mr. Gens read this after you typed it up for him?
No.
Thank you. Now, in the prison, how did Mr. Gens refer to you? Did he refer to you as Carlos? Did he refer to you as Mr. Vartinelli? How did he refer to you?
Carlos.
Carlos. Okay. And you have a middle name, correct?
That's right.
Okay, what's your middle name?
Ramondi.
Okay, did he know your middle name?
No.
Okay. So in this affidavit, you're referenced in that document I gave you, correct?
Yes.
And you're referred to as CRV.
Yes.
CRV, okay. You didn't put down Carlos, right?
That's right.
You didn't put down Mr. Vartinelli?
No.
You used your initials.
Yes.
Even though Mr. Gens has no idea what your middle name is,
No.
doesn't refer to you as your initials.
No.
Now, you've indicated today that you typed it up. What happened to the original that you used to type it up?
He got a boat.
Okay, so you gave it back.
Yeah.
Okay. And after you typed it up, Mr. Genstead said, "Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate it. I'm going to go take care of this. I feel so bad about myself. I'm going to go send this to Mr. Bashara right now," correct?
you're not reading the story. You asking me a question?
I did ask you a question, yes.
What was the question?
The question was, after you typed this up and you gave it back to Mr. Gentz, he thanked you and said, thank you for doing this. I feel so bad because Mr. Bashara is innocent. I'm now going to send this to Mr. Bashara,
I
correct?
don't know where you got those words. It's not what I said.
I'm paraphrasing.
I'm sorry, he's cutting the witness off here.
Please don't do that.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm paraphrasing. Not those exact words that he used those.
Well, if you ask me to testify truthfully, I just want to testify truthfully.
Okay. I'm not asking you that these are the exact words he used, but did he express in some way that he was appreciative for what you did?
He said, thank you, and he walked away.
Okay. And did he then indicate that he was going to immediately send this to Mr. Bashara and his attorney?
He didn't indicate anything to me. He just took it.
He just took it. Okay. Somehow, that statement finds its way back in your hands.
That's correct.
Okay. And how did it find its way back in your hands?
He went and dumped it in the coffee in the table where I was drinking my coffee with another prisoner named Roger Hess.
Okay. And you just took it and decided, I'm going to figure out what to do with this?
No, he says, you send it to him. He says, they won't let me do it. And I look at Roger and I say, what should I do with this? That was, I pray, like I said, I pray about it.
Let me ask this. Do you know if Mr. prior to you writing this up, if Mr. Gentz could read and write? Or what? If he obviously could write. Do you know if he could read?
He can read because he wrote his statements. He makes a lot of, errors on his writing. But he can write, he can read.
He can write.
And he can write and read, to my knowledge.
How do you know he can read?
Because he wrote his own statements.
And then he read it to you?
Yeah, some parts I asked him to read it to me because I didn't understand it. Yeah.
So he just dumps it and says, you send it in.
Yes,
Okay, so this person who you didn't want anything to do with, now he's dumping you one more thing upon you, correct?
Well, he said he prayed about it now.
Okay, well, we're getting before the praying, Your Honor.
Okay, before the praying.
He basically asks you at that time to send it into Mr. Bashara or Mr. Bashara's attorney.
no, it's not what he says. He says, you send it. He didn't say how. He didn't say to who.
Okay.
He just, you send it to them.
He just
They
said,
won't let me do it.
okay, he just said you send it to them.
Yes,
And you took that as send it to Mr. Bashara, Mr. Bashara's attorney.
well, Mr. Bashara, but I don't know who's representing him.
Okay. So you took it at that time to try to find out who was representing Mr. Bashara.
That's correct.
Okay. And you contacted Lenny at that time.
That's correct.
Okay. And you wanted Lenny to find out. Okay.
That's correct.
All right. And how did you do that? Did you do that by phone or did you meet Lenny in person?
No, I did it by phone, and I told him that I needed to I needed to talk to him about this, and he came and see me.
Okay. He
Who,
came.
Lenny came and saw you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you contacted. I'm just repeating what you said here. Is you contacted Lenny
Yes,
and said that you need to talk to him about this affidavit, correct?
yes,
And then he came and saw you.
yes,
Okay. Lenny did.
yes.
And present at that meeting with you and Lenny also was your wife, Deborah, correct?
No,
Okay. Is that the only time that you met with Lenny in person prior to sending in the affidavit?
prior to sending the affidavit, I met with Lanny once in a non-contact room.
Okay. Sir, I'm going to show you a record, and let me show it to Mr. Ambrose first. This is the prison record. And this is a record of your visitors at Macomb Correctional Facility.
Have you seen that, sir?
That's correct.
Okay, and then does that show that the only meeting that you had with Lenny during the time of period involving this affidavit was on November 23rd, 2015?
No, sir, when I called him, and I told him I
You
needed to
gotta
see
say
him.
Mr. Vietnam,
Yes,
Bartonelli. You have, when you say he, would you just use the name? You know, because you know, is it he, is Lenny, is, when you say he, just use the name, okay?
okay.
Thank you, go ahead.
When I contacted Mr. Arcaro, Leonard Arcaro, I told him I need to see him. He told me that he was going to come to see me, so my wife wanted to come and see me. But Mr. Arcaro was not able to come in with my wife because he got some medical device. So my wife came and see me first, and I say, "Where is Eleni?" She says, "They didn't let him come in." I said, "Why?" Because he's got some device. So I visited with my wife for, I don't know, an hour or so, and then she went out. And then I went to the non-contact visit and talked to Mr. Arcaro about the affidavit.
Okay, and that was on November 23rd, 2015, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and you spoke to Mr. Arcardo at that time about this, what you should do with this affidavit?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you very much. You also made a phone call on November 26th to Mr. I think your attorney is guessing where I'm going with this. So hopefully he set you up for what I'm about to say. Is not that to say with you is that the affidavit in which you said that you received and Mr. Gens told you to wait to send in and all of this that you prayed for, and then you went and you spoke to Lenny. The affidavit was signed December 2nd, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Yes
Is that
or no?
yes?
You understand this question?
You know,
Your Honor, can I just ask one question? That he not, if he's going to advise him, not tell him what to say.
You can't do that, Mr. Miles.
I wouldn't dream of it, Your Honor.
Sir, August 2nd is when the affidavit signed by Mr. Gens.
listen.
No, sir.
So wait a minute now. Don't argue with the prosecutor. Go listen.
My question is, the affidavit you have in your hand, signed by Joseph Gens, December 2nd, 2015, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So it would seem to reason that you would not have had that affidavit in order to pray about it and talk to Mr. Ricardo until after December 2nd, 2015.
No, sir, you got it wrong.
How do I have it wrong?
I talked to Lanny about this, and I say, this guy has been bothering me with this issue about this case. He's been asking me to sign, to prepare, because he wants to sign an affidavit. I don't want to get involved, Lanny. What should I do? He says, well, you need to pray. You know your innocence, and we know about your case. So you need to do whatever you think is right. So you think I should type the affidavit for him? He told me, pray about it and do what you think is right.
Okay. So this was the conversation you had on November 23rd in person with Lenny in the prison.
Well, I don't know if this conversation, this visitation was about this, because he comes and see me about my case.
Okay. It may not come to us. It may not be a big surprise to you, but your prison calls are recorded, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Every time you get on the phone, it states that these phone calls are being monitored and recorded.
That's correct.
Okay. Do you recall that you made a phone call on November 26th to Lenny?
It could be. I call him all the time.
And in that phone call, you told Mr. Arcardo, contact Mr. Bashara's attorney. I have some information that he's going to want.
On what day?
November 26th, 2015.
That could be.
Okay. Which again, before December 2nd, 2015?
Yes
Yeah.
or no?
Yes, I don't see the,
Just answer the question with me.
yes.
Mr. Martin, you can't do that. You can't do that now. He's on the witness stand. Let him answer the question. If he has a question, he can consult you. But you can't tell him what to say.
I couldn't modify a truthful man's statement, Your Honor.
Of course.
Well, then, Your Honor, then what exactly is he doing? Because I haven't asked a question
That's
for him
what
to
I'm saying, Mr. Moffitt, you can't do that.
All right, Your Honor. Thank you. Mr. Bartonelli, if you feel you need legal advice regarding any question, you can turn to me with Your Honor's consent. I may respond.
Okay.
Thank you.
This information that you have about your wife being followed, you don't,
Stalked.
I'm sorry, stalked. That's information your wife gave. You don't know anything about that, right?
What do you mean I don't know?
That's just things that she told you that, but you don't have any first-hand knowledge of her being stalked.
I believe my wife.
Okay.
Well, you don't know personally if somebody was following her. That's the
No.
question.
And you don't know who it was that was allegedly stalking her.
No.
I don't think any further questions, Your Honor.
Read the record.
You were in the, I want to get back to this November 26, 2015. Do you recall that your exact conversation with Mr. Arcardo?
I explained to Mr. Arcaro that there was a guy that wanted me to prepare this affidavit form, and it has to do with this gentleman that it was, I don't know him, and I think I've given the wrong name. I think I give him Bashara instead of Bashara. And I told him I needed to get his counsel about what should I do, because a guy has been asking me to prepare this affidavit form, which which I did, and subsequent to those conversations with Mr. Arcaro.
Okay. Once you received the affidavit, did you also talk to Mr. Arcardo?
Yeah, the affidavit, I received it considerable time later, because like I said, he took it and he kept it with him
All right.
for days.
All right. And do you recall when he placed it on the coffee table where you were at? Do you recall the date or whereabouts approximately?
No, but if you, I'm pretty sure if you subpoena the videotapes, it should be there.
Okay. At any rate, you asked Mr. Arcardo to contact Mr. Bashara's appellate attorney.
Yes, I did.
All right. You didn't know who it was.
No,
Have you ever met Mr. Robert Bashara?
no.
Do you know did you know anything about his case, or did you know something about his case?
I did read, not read, but watching the news in the day room, and then somebody pointed him out that it was some kind of he killed his wife or something like that. That's what I might say at the time. Later on, I learned more about it because I read the newspaper.
All right. Did Mr. Bashara ask you to help him out at all?
I don't know that man at all.
All right. Did anybody from him ever ask you or to help him out at all?
I don't know him. I don't know his family. I don't know anybody acquainted to him. I don't know anything about him.
All right. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, you can sit down.
actually, Your Honor,
What?
I've just been reminded of something that occurs too. Now, you stated that you had, you spoke to Lenny after the affidavit on December 2nd, 2012. That after receiving the affidavit in 2000, of the one that signed 2012, I apologize, I keep saying 2012. After receiving that affidavit from Mr. Gens, the December 2nd, 2015 affidavit, you spoke to Lenny about trying to get in contact with Mr. Bashara's appellate counsel.
That's correct.
Okay. And did you indicate to him that you were willing to provide this information, but there are certain conditions attached to it? Do you recall saying that to Mr. Ricardo?
Yes.
Okay. What exactly were those conditions that you were placing?
That I don't want to get involved on this. I don't want my face smeared on the TV.
Okay. And do you recall a phone call on December 28th, 2015 to Mr. Ricardo, which you indicated that you wrote a letter to Mr. Ambrose? That's Mr. Bashara's appellate attorney.
I don't recall, but it could have been.
Okay. And did you write a letter to Mr. Ambrose?
Yes, when I sent the affidavit.
Okay. Now, in that phone call on December 28, 2015, do you recall telling Lenny that you had asked that your investigator needs to be paid?
The what?
That your investigator needs to be paid. That meaning Lenny. That Lenny needs to get paid.
Oh, of course, because I told Lani, I said, you need to tell them that, they need to reimburse your involvement because, I mean, there's no place to be, paying for, for somebody that, that needs information. I asked Mr. Ricardo to do it for me, but I asked him, I said, will you please tell them if it's possible that they compensate you for your time because I feel bad, Lenny,
Okay. And that was among the conditions of you providing this was that Mr. Ricardo get ask for some type of money, get compensation.
It was no condition. It
Okay,
was.
You stated there were conditions.
Well, your interpretation of conditions and my interpretation of condition or stipulations is different. I just say I would be pretty much rather. What I mean by that is I'd be pretty much rather for Lanny to be compensated because as it is, he has been working in my case for a long time, and I keep paying him as I can to prove my innocence. So I don't see why he shouldn't get compensated for what he did.
I have no further questions.
Anything further? Mr. Ambrose?
Did you ever ask me to compensate Mr. Ricardo?
No.
All right, no further questions.
Okay, we're done.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for your patience and consideration of this witness.
All right, step down, witness. Did you want Mr. Bruce to testify?
No.
Okay, step down, sir.
Thank you.
They have my papers back. Thank you very much.
You can take them back. Yes. Take care of that deputy lead. He got it.
You know when they're going to take me back?
Right now, come on.
Thank you.
Good luck to you, sir. Okay, very good. Now, what is the nature of this prosecutorial misconduct? Was that it?
Pretty much. I mean, they had. I went right off of Mr. Bartonelli's letter to me, as well as his affidavit, as to the contact that they're contacting the wife of Mr. Bartonelli, and I don't know why. All they had to do, if they had any concerns about the affidavit itself, was contact the notary. It's a very simple process. Was it Mr. Joseph Gens that signed this affidavit, yes or no? That's all that they needed.
Your Honor, defense counsel has made some very, very serious claiming the prosecutor's office of doing things that are illegal. Prosecutorial misconduct, things that we would get grieved for. And he's claiming now that the only reason why he did it is because Mr. Bartonelli told him this.
Plus, Your Honor.
That's not the nature of your motion. Oh, there were over 116 context or some large number, you made it appear as though the prosecutor was overbearing with the wife, that it almost caused her to have a heart attack, and we didn't get any of that.
He doesn't have any personal knowledge except for what he has been told by his wife.
If he has no personal knowledge, then why did Mr. Ambrose bring this motion?
The motion is for the motion's for discovery. I'd like to know what, I mean, I'm being bombarded with emails on a constant basis of everything that what they want to give me. But not only that,
But that's not the nature of your motion. Your nature of your motion, you allege prosecutorial misconduct. You say that the prosecutor's office was overreaching with Mr. Bartonelli's wife, that you indicated that there was privileged conversation that was taken, and now we get here and we don't even hear that.
You know what? Now that you brought it up, I would like to have Joseph Bruce testify, because that is the nature of one of the allegations, is the privilege. And I have it, I mean, they provided it to me, the recorded conversation between my client and my investigator. And that is privileged information.
Between Mr. Bashara?
Yes. And I cited the law on it, that it's privileged.
And Your Honor, that's more of a legal question, but as indicated in our response, is these were conversations between Mr. Bruce and Mr. Bashara on the prison phone call. Before every one of those phone calls, they state this phone call is being monitored and recorded. In order for there to be a privilege, there needs to be a belief that what you're talking about is being said in private. Now, it cannot be private if you're being told right off the bat, this is being monitored and it's being recorded and it's going to be heard.
And Mr. Bruce, at the beginning of these conversations, informs everybody involved that this is a privileged conversation and it's not to be listened to. So if they're still listening to this privileged conversation, otherwise I'm going to have Mr. Bruce, who is I can't go there every day or every time somebody wants to get a message to me. I'm going to have Mr. Bruce go all the way up to St. Louis Correctional Facility, a 2-hour trip, to have these conversations. So there has to be some sort of parameters where they're not allowed to listen in on these conversations.
There is, Your Honor. There's a secure phone line that Mr. Ambrose uses to call Mr. Bashara. That could be used between Mr. Bruce if he actually wants to keep it private.
Is that correct?
Well, I know I can use it, but I don't know if Mr. Bruce can. And if he's coming in with an incoming call, then he's going to, I don't know what the prison facility's policy is with regard to an investigator.
Well, as the counsel has pointed out for the people, you know that it indicates that those calls are being monitored. So how could you indicate that your witness is saying, well, they're privileged, and that go against what the policy is of the of the Department of Corrections?
What I'm saying is, as soon as they find out that my investigator and my client are having a conversation, that they shouldn't be allowed to listen in on that conversation.
Why not? They're not keeping it private.
They are with Mr. Bruce's statement at the beginning of this conversation.
Your Honor,
he states it's privileged.
But whose expectation of privacy is it? It's not Mr. Bruce's.
Well, I would think it's Mr. Bashara's expectation.
Exactly, but the point of it is there's a secure line for you to talk to him, and you should let your investigator talk to him. Mr. Ambrose, we cannot have any more motions like this. This was a complete waste of time. There was nothing of value that was taken out that we could have done. I had another trial. I had to put that trial over to get this testimony, which you could have gotten from Mr. Bruce by sending him up there to see Mr. Bartonelli. He had to get counsel. I am not going to entertain any more motions like this.
I didn't ask for Mr. Bartonelli to be here. Your Honor, all I ask is if the prosecution is, I want discovery from them. That's the nature of the motion for discovery.
That's not what you indicated in this motion, that they were engaged in prosecutorial misconduct and that you wanted it, obviously the court abated, And so the court had to find out, not from you, but wanted to know actually, was there some type of prosecutorial misconduct, was there evidence? And I haven't seen any. And the discovery, items that he's requesting, have they been provided to him?
I have given him everything that I have. He puts in here that I provided him 166 calls, I believe he said. I presented him multiple calls since then.
If on the record, if he's gonna provide me with everything that they have, I'm satisfied with it, Your Honor. But it blows my mind that they just didn't contact the notary at the Macomb Correctional Facility. That's the first person that you would think that you would want to contact if you have any type of dispute about this affidavit. Just contact the notary. The notary's the one that Mr. Gentz has to go up there and swear to it. Instead, I'm getting deluged with all of this additional investigation into this to try to, I'm assuming, to try to discredit this affidavit. It's a simple process.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, that we're trying to discredit this affidavit. I'm sorry, is that not our job to do so if we believe that it is false?
If they believe that it was false, then just contact the notary, contact Joseph Gentz, contact his attorney. But I don't know what, if that's all that they have, if that's all that they're going to put on the record, if they're going to put on the record that I'm going to get everything from here on in, I'm okay with it. I've filed motions for what I want. I mean, they're allowed to have their discovery. I had filed a motion to have Jane Bashara's medical records, and they haven't filed a response on that. I'm waiting for a response on that, but they just choose not to.
That's part of the motion that I'm going to rule on next week.
Okay.
And I had enough of this. The court is satisfied that, first of all, that there has not been any prosecutorial misconduct that has occurred in this particular matter. Moreover, I'm satisfied that all the discovery has been given, and any other outstanding issues the court is going to resolve them, because I'm going to rule on that next week as to the issues that have been brought up in your motion for a new trial, with the exception of this new evidence with Mr. Gentz.
All right. Now, just for the record, and I appreciate the court hearing me out.
Mr. Maka, why are you? Go ahead.
I appreciate the court hearing me out, but I didn't want to put the court at any scheduling conflict. I had scheduled it on a normal motion day, so it wasn't something that.
Okay, very good. I'll see you next Tuesday.
Fair enough. And at that time, are we going to have a decision on Mr. Gentz's writ?
Mr. Gentz will be here.
Oh, he will be here. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Maka. For some reason.
I don't think we need her for this testimony, but I think we want to speak with her.
She's surrendered, Your Honor. Tuesday, the
12th.
What do you want me to convey to her?
That we would like to speak with her and take a statement from her. Let me get our investigator to, since she is here, let's see if I can get my investigator. You said the wife is here?
Oh, no, she's not.
She's going to be here on the 12th?
She's subpoenaed
Okay.
to be here on the 12th.
Okay.
And we would just like to know if she has to testify, or do we not know yet?
I do not.
understand if you don't know.
Yeah, I don't know yet. Let me find out, and then we'll let you know.
Strangely reasonable for a prosecutor. It's a pleasure meeting you. Hopefully I will not be returned.
I hope so too.
We don't think she knows a thing, and you've heard all the conversations.
Right.